Hi guys, it's Luetin here, and I'm joined again today by Daskro, and we're going to be talking about Battlefield 4, but specifically we're going to be talking about some concerns with Battlefield 4. Now, I have some concerns about Battlefield 4. I don't know, Daskro, if you're concerned about this as well, or whether it's just me. Are you got the same sort of line of thinking, or what's your kind of perspective? I'll just very quickly, guys, highlight the two things that I'm sort of thinking on today. One is the commander mode. Is it too powerful? Does it give too much power to the commander and a team that maybe is, capping multiple bases or whatever it is that they're doing there? And, does having a bad commander really, really debilitate your team? The other thing we're going to be looking at is the squad perk system. But Daskro, first up, commander. What's your overall thought, having actually played and experienced it? Do you feel that it's too powerful? Does it give too much power to one person, especially when, for example, let's say you're in a 6-base situation, your team has capped 4 bases. Does that give your team too much power?
Well, just to recap on how Commander mode works in Battlefield 4, it is a slot that you join. So if you're on a 64-man server, it actually has 66 slots available. 2 are reserved for Commander. You join up as Commander. You are not a physical entity in the game, but instead someone looking over the entire map. In this, you can do a number of things. You can tell different squad leaders where to go in a very easy-to-use interface. You have a certain number of default abilities. Those default abilities are UAV scans, counter UAV scans called EMP UAVs. You also have the ability to drop ammo in big sort of supply boxes, as well as the ability to drop vehicles, light vehicles like little Humvees and things like that. But beyond those, you also get some very special abilities as well that are dependent on what capture points your team have been able to take. So as an example, on E3 at the Siege of Shanghai map, if you were to cap Charlie Point, you would get a Tomahawk missile. And if you were to cap Bravo Point, you were to get an infantry scan, which is different than a UAV in that it's sort of a one-time scan, sort of like watching a copier operate that light going from left to right over the screen. And if there's any guys on that line as it progresses, they light up temporarily. And these special abilities are a big deal. They can give you a big advantage depending on if you know how to use it. And the real issue behind this is that if you have a competent set of squad leaders and a competent commander, and you're all working together, and you're all giving commands to one another and requesting for support and capping those points, the commander will be able to get a lot of additional abilities. And the efficacy of these abilities is still in the pre-alpha stages, so we have to be careful on assuming how powerful or not powerful they are. But I think that there are some legitimate concerns with it.
Well, I think, let me just say as well, like you say there, there's pre-alpha, so we're far away, really. I mean, some people would say it's close, but we are far away from the final product. But I think that is the important point, and that is why I wanted to discuss this today, is that we're far enough away that they can actually still make changes. They could tone it back a little bit if they wanted to. They could reduce some of the powers that the commander mode has. And like we say, my real worry is that, we know already that many games, many servers end up in a steamroll situation on public servers, all right? When you have a team that is just imbalanced, the server admin maybe doesn't care, or maybe he's not even there, because as we know, server admins don't play 24/7, so you might end up on a server which just is horrifically imbalanced. Now, right now it's bad enough, but you've got a commander with all these extra abilities, Tomahawk missiles, AC-130s. Now, they've said that they're going to tailor the commander modes to specific maps, so some maps may have certain attributes and some may not, dependent on how useful they're going to be, or perhaps maybe how powerful they would be on certain maps. So they are keeping that in mind. It's good that it's not just default for every single map that you play, but I think it is a genuine concern that already we see many games which are very, very one-sided, and I think that this is just going to, I can't see how this is going to balance it back the other way, other than, perhaps if you have a really awesome commander on the team that's getting handed out, maybe he can try and, maintain the balance if the commander on the other team wasn't very good. But overall, I don't really think that that's going to be the way it goes. For me personally, I'm very worried about it. I'm excited, and I love the fact that commander mode is back. It's great. It's fantastic for someone like me because I love that kind of thing. I loved it in Battlefield 2. I love the fact that you can really have this tactical input to the people on the ground. You can really, really support them in an intelligent sort of overviewing kind of way, and you can maybe give people objectives that, you know, maybe they're just not thinking about it when they're in the game. But on the flip side, I am very concerned about how powerful it is, to the point that I could potentially make the game broken. I think I need to say it like that, because I just think it can give so much power to the commander, and I think it really could make games even more one-sided than they already are. But Daskro, go on.
I think that in its current rendition within the alpha, I'd have to agree with you. But I think that much like how they had changed the vehicle and infantry attributes within this alpha for sake of presentation, that they accelerated a number of the abilities within commander mode to show it off. For instance, the Tomahawk missile within the alpha regenerated every 15 seconds or so, which was a really fast turnaround. In Battlefield 2, an arty strike, which for all intents and purposes does the same thing the Tomahawk missile does, had a refresh of 90 seconds.
Yeah.
I imagine that what we're going to see in the real game is the offensive abilities, namely the gunship and the Tomahawk missile, will be curtailed to the point where they are weapons that have to take some reload time in order to use. And further, with the Tomahawk missile, if you only shoot it every 90 seconds, I don't think it's going to have a substantial impact on the battle.
No.
But if you're shooting every 15 seconds, it most certainly will, because it just gives you more opportunity to blow dudes up. Same thing with the AC-130. On the other hand, the more intel-focused abilities, such as the IFV, the infantry scan, the UAV scan, the EMP scan, those are going to be helpful to some teams, but I think it only is going to be helpful to teams that already are going to be playing the objective anyway. And I would argue that if you have a team of competent players that know how to use the intel that comes from the commander to them, know how to follow orders, they're going to be able to beat the other team regardless of whether or not the commander gives them that intel, because it requires sort of an innate ability to work as a squad and play the objectives. And actually, going to your next question, this ties in really well, and it's very similar in nature. Because of how the squad perks operate in Battlefield 4, you have to work together as a squad in order to gradually level up your squad perks to the point where you can then get all four. It takes a long time to get them, at least in this alpha stage, and we don't know what it's going to look like in the future. But if you can imagine that if you get a lot of points for following what the commander says as a squad leader, and your squad follows your commands as a squad leader, then what you may end up having is that a gang of competent players may be able to level up their squad perks a whole lot faster. Now, is that a big deal in of itself? I don't really believe so, only because if you take a group of vanilla players versus a group that has all those squad perks combined, it may give them a slight advantage. However, I think this is tempered by the fact that you will lose all your squad perks if your squad gets wiped. And to me, that provides a tremendous disincentive, because currently there is no disincentive in Battlefield 3 to not play aggressive. If you're not playing aggressive, you're not playing the game right. And I know some of you may say, well, wait a minute, I love playing recon, or I love playing support and holding the point. That may work for you, but if you want to win the game, if you want to go, if you don't care what gun you use, you don't care what class you use, you just want to win, you're going to play super aggressive. And so this provides a great disincentive to actually put more viability into players that want to play a little more on the defensive.
I have to say, it kind of worries me actually for that exact reason, because when I play, I generally am the person playing super aggressive. You know, I run so hard at the MCOM. I'm often on the MCOM before the defenders have even prepared to set up any kind of defense, and it's armed and ready. Meanwhile, I turn around, where's my team? They're like right still back like 200 yards away from me, and that is generally the problem. I actually find that in most games that I play, the teams and the people that I play with are too defensive. They just don't move up. I mean, they couldn't get more of an exact situation than the game I played last night, but I won't go into that now. But I'm slightly worried as well about this. I'm worried about this as well because I feel that it's going to, again, benefit squads that play very, very cohesively and just make them even stronger than they already are. Again, you might sort of say, well, that's good. You're benefiting people who are actually playing the game as properly. You could argue that they should. Again, I don't disagree with that. And actually, for me as a player, it's probably going to benefit me because the kind of people that I play with, the guys that I play with regularly, when we're in a squad, that's how we work together. We tend to keep each other up. We work, we stay together, we play for the objective. And so, for me as a player in my general games, it probably will benefit me. But I'm thinking more overall for everybody. I can see that in many, many situations, it's going to be sort of a bit of a downer. On the other hand, like you said, the squad perks are not the be-all and end-all. Having a full set of squad perks, for sure, it's going to give you an edge, but it's probably not going to make you superhumans that can just be invincible. Like I always say, you can be the best player in the world, but if somebody comes up behind you and puts a gun to your head, you're not going to have the skills to sort of counter that. And I think that's the thing is, for me as a player as well, often I find that position is often more important than maybe necessarily skills and perks, because if you can get the position on them, it doesn't matter how good that player is, doesn't matter what squad perks they've got. If you're up above and you've got the line of sight on them, they're going down. So that's one way to sort of look at it. My last point as well, as much as I'm concerned about this, I think you have got to look at the flip side, all right? Because people have been complaining for ages, forever, about squad perk stacking. This is a solution to that. It does remove that. It does fix that. So I think you have got to sort of say, okay, DICE, they've actually listened to the fact that people got frustrated by squad perk stacking, and it was something that is, even when you're trying to avoid it, it will happen. Like, so many times when I'm in game, I see someone else with a squad perk, so I change out, then he dies, and he changes back to a different class, and then he's got the same squad perk as me. And so it's just this horrific cycle. So it does kind of fix that. Also, at the same time, the other thing is that for ages people have been saying about how annoying it is that people constantly playing Wolf, they're constantly going solo, they're just not playing with their team. Again, this kind of does have an incentive there. It is sort of like, they're trying to make game mechanics to try and incentivize how people play the game, and I think it's, again, they're sort of putting something there towards that. So I'm less concerned about this. I'm less concerned about it, but at the same time I do think there is room there to be worried about how it may eventually turn out.
I'm much more optimistic than you are about this. This is gonna sound very Milton Friedmanish, but I believe in being able to give people incentives, and I think that when you put incentives into the game, regardless of whether they're good incentives or bad incentives, it does influence people's play styles, and in this respect, I think that when you give tremendous incentives, not just to be in a squad, but actually do squad things like give
squad
ammo,
revive,
give squad revive, nice, medic stuff, squad spots, squad suppression, following squad orders. If you give more points to someone for doing those kind of abilities than just killing dudes, then it's going to influence people who want to just rank up and get that next unlock. So a lot of people are not going to play 1,000 hours. They're only going to play maybe 50, 60 hours over the course of their game. This is going to incentivize them to play together as a squad and not think like I just got to play like I do in Call of Duty and go Rambo. Instead, I have to work with my team or else I'm not going to be able to level up that fast. And I think that's a really big deal because it changes how people play the game. And I think when people actually start playing this way, they'll find that, wow, not only am I getting a lot of points, I'm actually doing better in the game, having a lot more fun because I'm working together as a squad, doing squad things. And when you look at some of the footage that I posted on my channel, I went in the tank and I went 25-1 in the tank. In that 25 kill streak, which is a lot of points, I only pushed my squad perk 25%. I got one squad perk unlock during that entire time. To me, this indicates that squad perks is not about just killing dudes. It's about actually working together as a squad, following orders, and giving out orders, as well as giving things like ammo and giving things like med packs. Because remember, in this game, you're going to have maybe 1/3 as much ammunition as you would in Battlefield 3, which means you may be able to kill a dude or two, but you know what? You're going to have to get ammo, which means that there's going to be a support guy in your squad. And if there's not a support guy in your squad, then you are not going to be that successful. You're not going to be able to rank up that fast. You're not going to get that much points. You can't kill dudes. You can't complete your objectives.
Yeah.
So I for one, am much more optimistic about this because I want people to play the objectives. And this makes it so that if you want to be successful in the game, you're going to have to. And I know some people say, well, I want to play it how I want to play it. Well, I disagree. You should play it in a team setting because you're playing as a team. You're not playing as some Rambo guy. You're actually playing a squad, playing the objective. That's the way I think Battlefield should be played, and so that's why I'm optimistic about it.
Yeah, that's a good rationale, and actually I do feel more optimistic having heard you explain it like that, because I think my concern was that, people would just be racking the kills and sort of, maybe they'd get some objectives, but then once their squad had got these perks, it gives them too much of an edge. But actually, from what you're saying, the fact that it is at the moment currently, now again we need to remember that anything could change. They could make it very easy to rank up these perks, or they could make it more difficult. But that combined with the whole ammo situation as well, it does mean that, like you say, people are going to have to rely on others, basically. They can't sort of solo all the time. You're not going to be able to kind of run off and be a one-man army, just racking the kills or flanking and taking people out. You're going to need to rely on your team and your squad, and you can't be relying on them if you're far away from them. You need to stay with your squad so that you can work together, and it's important as well that you have the right diversity in your squad so that you can drop ammo, you can have the medics there and all the rest of it. So actually thinking about it from those terms, I do feel more optimistic about it now, having thought about that. I think that it's still going to be interesting to see how that plays out in public situations. Like I said, I can imagine that, for example, if you and me and a couple of the other guys that we play with were in a squad together, I can imagine that working as a coherent squad would not be a problem. We'd be like, Daskro, ammo drop, blah blah blah. You would be working like that. You'd be smooth, point to point, taking the objectives, and it would all be good. Random public games, we have to remember that there's a lot of people that play the game who do not necessarily have such a close-knit group of people that they can regularly play with. My advice to those people would be find some sort of a clan, join up with people that you're going to be able to regularly play with, and actually have good squad play. All right, there's plenty of clans out there. That would be my suggestion.
It is so easy to find a platoon to play with, because here's the thing. Here's what you do. You join a random server, you play the game, you join a squad that looks pretty good, and if you're successful, you know what you do, guys? It's not hard. It's not like asking a girl out. You just go on Battle Log, you go to the report of you winning the game, you find the person, you add them to your friends list.
Yep.
And then voila, you got a new friend to play with.
Yep.
It's not hard, guys. And I know some of you, I don't want to make friends. Well, you should make friends. This is a team game. Play as a team. It's not hard. Just play the objective. It's
well,
that easy.
A good example of how strong clans are, and this is a little bit off topic, but it is relevant specifically to this whole squad perk situation and how important team play is going to be in Battlefield 4. Now, years ago, like 7 years ago, whatever, when I finished playing World of Warcraft, I came out and started getting into FPS. I started playing COD 4. Now, for about a year, I played without a clan because I'd been in World of Warcraft for so long, I'd had enough of that crap, and I wanted to just play solo. I wanted to get back into that style of gameplay. I played, generally had a really enjoyable time. It got to the point, though, where I got frustrated that the people I was playing with would never sort of work as a team. They wouldn't listen, they wouldn't sort of communicate. It was just constantly just randomness all over the place. And I'm sure that that's the kind of experience that a lot of people have in Battlefield. The way that I resolved it, I just started looking around for clans that would work. I could have a small squad to work together, and it's not difficult. There are so many clans out there. Just Google it, just look up different people, or go to different forums, websites, try and find them, and you will find a good sort of group of people to play with. And this is the time to do it. All right now, we're in the period between Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4. This is kind of like the lull, the period right now where you should be like trying to find your squad, the people you want to be playing with in Battlefield 4. This is a good opportunity where things are kind of quiet right now for you to sort of look around, try and find some guys to get on with. And again, also things are not going to be really intense in the games right now. People are a bit more relaxed about how they're playing. This is a great opportunity right now to kind of get together with people, practice some things, practice some tactics, practice your squad play, so that when Battlefield 4 comes out, you're ready for the game, you're ready to get off on the right foot to get started with. So that's my point of view.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I'd add to this is, remember, guys, if you find a new friend on Battlelog, and I know this is maybe foreign to you guys, but if you find a friend on Battlelog, see what platoons that they're on. Platoons may be communities that you two can join. A lot of platoons, I'd probably say 90% of the platoons out there, you can join up and they'll accept you, no questions asked. And now you have a whole community of new people to play with. And in Battlefield 4, we're going to have voice over IP on PC, something that the console guys, Luetin included, have experienced for a long time. There's no excuse now not to play together. There's no reason that we don't have VoIP. Well, we got it now. So
it's not always a positive.
I'm going back to the old school Battlefield 2 days where the game actually came with a headset.
Yeah.
And it was, generally speaking, a positive experience. Yeah, you get some assholes, but you know what? There are assholes everywhere. So just be proactive. If you get your feelings hurt, you find another platoon. You find new friends. This is a huge community of players, and I guarantee you that there is a community for your play style and your skill set and your time dedication, and you're going to have a good time doing it.
Definitely. So guys, just to recap before we finish here, Battlefield 4, there's going to be some major changes. Commander, perks, they're just some of the changes that are coming in. I think me and Daskro will be definitely having a few more conversations in the future about some of the things that are coming up here. But we're very interested, and I am specifically, to sort of hear your thoughts about Commander and the squad perks. Do you think that they're going to be dangerously game breaking? Do you think that they're going to be having a positive influence in the game? Are you just happy to see some quite interesting, innovative changes, and the fact that they've listened to people and they're feeding off of the content of the community? I think that's one of the strengths that I've seen so far in Battlefield 4, is that they really, really have listened to people. They have looked at what people have said, they've looked at what people wanted, and they've tried to make the changes appropriately to make those successful features in the game. Thanks for watching today, guys. We'll have some more content coming up very soon about Battlefield 4 and its surrounding topics. See you next time.